Welcome to Roguecast, the official podcast of Rogues Gallery. We'll talk comics for the week, as well as whatever news is on our pop cultural radar. I'm Randy.
I'm Nick. This is Dave.
And now, on with the show.
Hello and welcome to the Roguecast. Nothing new today. The weather is hot.
The weather's hot. Everything's peaceful in the nation.
Everything's peaceful in the nation. No problems there.
Yep. And so all we have to do is just enjoy the delights of a week of comics and games.
Yep. It is, by the way, a huge week for comics.
It is.
And a good week. I really liked a lot of stuff this week. And the last 2 weeks have been pretty big.
Yeah.
So you may want to, if you haven't been in a while, come in and take a look at the jumping on points. There's some good stuff out there.
It's true. I believe this week was big enough that we have some spillover onto the table of graphic novels.
We haven't done this in a long time. Basically, all the graphic novels would not fit.
Yeah.
And also, if you're coming in first thing Wednesday, you're not seeing all the variant covers because they are interleafed together on the shelf. You got to look for them.
They're there.
They're there. But they're like in stacks.
Like sometimes the only way we could manage to fit them out is to kind of put them in a stack.
Yeah.
I know that the companies would like us to fan them all out so that a single comic could take up about 5 feet of shelf.
Yeah.
With all its variants. But we can't do that. Yeah. So that's on them.
And that's with us not ordering. We don't order all the variants. We only order a handful.
Randy says that, but
I'm going to make you look at a.
No,
FOC.
He is.
I'm going to make you look at the orders.
Accurate. There are some variants that go through A through Z.
Yeah,
we've got a solid number.
Yeah, we order them.
It is less than half of all every week.
I'm familiar with the greed of Marvel and DC.
I'm being impugned.
And there's the foil variants.
I hate variants.
The foil variants and hologram variants.
I hate variants as much as the next guy.
But, here's the thing is, like, when I'm putting them out and stuff, I'm like, this is a good cover.
Yeah.
That's a good cover.
You're a sucker for the variants, too, Dave.
Not buying them.
You're all in you're in their pocket, too. You're in the pocket of big variant.
Big holofoil.
Big holofoil.
So ever since the 90s, secretly working behind the scenes in the dark shadow government.
Yes,
big holofoil.
Big holofoil and big die cut.
Big die cut.
Yeah.
I will say,
the 90s will never die.
I do support the variances that they get different artists and pay them, hopefully.
Yes, that's a good thing.
So I like that more artists are getting paid to do fun work.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't give a shit about that.
Dave hates all artists.
Again, in the pocket of a holofoil and die.
These artists should be happy to be getting work. But perhaps I've said too much.
All right. Submarine Challenge continues.
Yep.
Still, people got a couple months. Ends in August. So we've gotten quite a few. I think we're hit our record for most turned in so far.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well past the last year.
This is our third year. We'll continue doing that. Free RPG Day is this Saturday.
Oh, wow.
Oh, right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, you'll remember on Saturday.
I will. Or I won't. And then I'll come in and be like,
You'll wonder why I'm here at 11 o'clock.
Y'all were counting through them the other day, and I was checking them out, and I was like, "Oh, these dudes look awesome."
I forgot what all there's in there. There's a Root RPG. I think I saw a G.I. Joe thing.
There's a G.I. Joe thing.
Root's like the little woodland animals, right?
There's a Starfinder.
There's an Obajima, which is the sort of Miyazaki 5e thing.
Right.
Which looks cool.
And then in kind of the random stuff, there are some die.
Yeah.
Some fancy D20s and things like that.
There will be a good selection of stuff this year, as always. So.
What do we
come in early?
What is our limit on that?
I think it's like 2 or 3.
We're doing 3 per person, I think.
Yeah. So come in early, get the full selection, because there will definitely be stuff that goes out.
It sells out immediately.
We don't get to set our numbers. We just get to order the kits.
You must answer a Gollum riddle.
Yes.
In order to access the
And if you get it wrong, you get sent out back to face the stone giant.
Yes.
Stone giant.
And if you get it right, you stay in here and fight the kobolds.
If you get it really right, you become the bride of Gollum.
Yes. All Ages Awesomeness is less than a month away.
Right.
We at some point will line us the lineup, but what we can tell you is Andy Rudden of Alley fame will be here.
Yep.
Jesse Jordan, Isaiah Broussard, local artist Joe Compton, who did 1 or 2 of our stickers. And people can come out and get
sketches for the kids. Yep.
That's awesome.
It's going to be awesome.
Just like the title promises.
I was going to say, it's right there in the title.
By the way, it's been 6 years.
Yeah, it's been
last one we did was 2019, right before the pandemic.
Yep.
And it was number 9. So this is the 10th annual.
Okay.
But it's not annual. But it's the 10th All Ages Awesomeness happening 6 years after the last one.
We couldn't help the pandemic.
Could not.
And then when we get the time machine working, we're going to go see what we can do.
Yeah. I got some plans for that time machine.
Oh, interesting.
People should like our plans.
We've got games, not a ton of new games this week, but
Like that, Biff.
a couple sort of refreshes. Just one, the party game, where everybody writes down. There's a prompt. Everybody writes down a word that ties into that prompt, and they reveal. And if they use the same word, they have to put those down. And then whatever's left, the person who didn't see them all gets to look and see and tries to guess the word.
Oh,
so if you guess, I've had this happen where just one where you're like, if like 4 people are guessing and like 3 people put the same word down, they suddenly have 1 clue to go off of.
Oh, wow.
It's a lot of fun.
So this is a party game that... How many players can play this?
As many as you want.
Oh, that's fun.
Just one.
Right there in the title. Just
it's a one-player
one person
game.
writing a ton of different
You're like,
things.
I win.
Yes. It's a solo game. If you're really sad.
That actually does sound like a very fun party game.
It's super good.
I really like the idea.
It's one I really like. And then we got in the game Flip 7. So all games have numbers in them this week.
It's true.
Flip 7 is a really quick push your luck game. I'm pretty sure we talked about when it came in first.
Yeah.
I think so.
But this has been highly requested. It is out at every distributor, but we got some directly from the manufacturer. We got a fair amount, so we should have Flip 7 to keep you in the summer.
We made it happen.
It's a little talk box that you can get the size of Uno, basically.
Yeah.
And this is a good travel game. It's one you can play on. You can play on the plane, but also like you can take it to the beach with you. You can take it wherever you're going. It's a great game to like pick up and bring with you wherever you're going.
Could I take it to the Forbidden Grotto?
The Forbidden Grotto specifically forbids games.
That's where Gollum takes his brides, actually.
Right. Gollum in the Forbidden Grotto.
The least popular Indiana Jones film. Indiana Jones in the Forbidden Grotto of Gollum.
Yes. All right, let's talk comics for the week.
Hold on, Sulla. I hear something up ahead. Okay.
Indy, I've been wed.
Sorry, old friend.
I don't know what's going on with Dave today, but it's gonna be that kind of podcast.
It's gonna be that kind of podcast.
Should we do a quick Marvel Snap update since we're all obsessed with it?
Sure.
So we are all playing Marvel Snap.
Yep. The app game where you build a deck of Marvel heroes.
They all know. We've talked about it.
I was gonna say they know at this
point. I'm doing the one-line version.
Okay, all right.
There you go.
The new version this week is High Voltage.
Yep.
Which is it plays in 4 rounds instead of 6, and you get a lot more energy. You can play a lot more cards, and you get random cards every turn. And there's weird charge effects that happen.
So one of the cool things about it, aside from it plays very briskly.
Yep.
It's chaotic, right? There is more luck involved in this one, no doubt. But one of the coolest things for me as a kind of like a new-ish player is I see lots of cards that I don't have.
Yeah.
In fact, one of the ones that you can win if you play enough of this and earn some of their ranks and prizes, Kid Omega, has shown up multiple times in other people's decks already.
Dave, how do you feel about Kid Omega? Big fan?
Listen, we know we hate the little dude in the comics. He's like the biggest brat the
Although
X-Men
Jed
ever
McKay
had.
is doing his best.
He's doing his darndest to make me tolerate him.
Did he fake die? Is he still fake dead in X-Men? Has he actually turned back up?
Yeah, he turned back up.
He did, okay.
Yeah, Zorn found him.
Oh, that's right, okay. I just remember he was in the ship that crashed.
Couldn't have kept walking, Zorn.
Yeah, leave him alone.
Stop. Quinquere's fine.
No, he's not. He's terrible.
But because one of the cards you can do allows you to copy a card from your opponent's hand, I've actually played Kid Omega's card, even though I may not ever get Kid Omega because I don't think I'll get high enough in the ranks on this one.
You don't want to pay a whole bunch of real money to get a fake card?
I'm not going to pay too much real money. I do pay them the real money regular.
Me too.
What do you call it?
Season pass.
The season pass.
I am totally fine with paying for a game that I use, and I definitely get my
we're getting
$5 or $10 worth every month.
We're getting their money out of it. Yeah, I think so. And it's been a lot of fun. Among just some of the fun things today, also that you can get cosmetic upgrades to your cards.
Mm-hmm.
I got the disco variant of Captain America, which joins my existing Thor disco variant, Emma Frost, and one other one.
You build a deck where you use all your disco variants?
It seems like that'd be a good idea. I will call that deck Disco Inferno.
Yeah, I like it. That means you should put magic in there so you can get that limbo inferno.
Yeah. Well, that magic is one of the ones.
Yeah. Okay.
What is Randy? What is a cool card you've gotten recently?
They've been doing the negative space variants, which I forget who that artist is.
Oh,
he does variant covers.
They do the covers with that negative space. So
I picked up the negative space Iron Man, which is very cool. Yep. And I had enough to pick up. And I really wanted...
They did a Miles Morales negative space one, and I really wanted it, but it was just more points than I had at the time.
And I had enough gold to buy another... I bought a Dan Hip, which I love the Dan Hip variants.
Yeah, I think people probably know that
he was the designer of Teen Titans Go.
Yeah.
Oh, was he?
Yep.
Okay. But in general, you should look up his his Instagram, his DeviantArt page, whatever he's got. And check out Dan Hip's cartoon superheroes. He's always posting new stuff. They're so good.
Yep, he's great. All right, comics for the week.
Yep.
I read 25 comics this week, which is a lot.
I read 20, which is a lot.
And by the way, that's not even all the comics on the wall. There's 100 different comics on the wall.
Yep. That's just kind of our selections of sort of the newer ones and our regulars, and the stuff we want to get a look at before if they're kind of hitting.
Bunch of new stuff this week. Again, there's a bunch of new stuff the last few weeks. There's been a lot of new stuff to try out, and a bunch of new stuff we like. Let's start with Bring on the Bad Guys. This is a 5-issue miniseries of one-shots.
I thought it was 7 issues.
7-issue series of one-shots.
There we go.
I don't know.
I might be wrong too, but
is there a list at the back? Maybe
I'm right though.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're both wrong.
Oh my god!
6.
Oh wait, nope. 7. It is 7. Dave's right.
So there we go.
So anyway, what this is?
Doom is never wrong.
For those who don't know, 1976 they did a collection called Bring on the Bad Guys, one of the early trade paperbacks. Yes. And it had the first appearances and origin stories of these 7 villains.
What I remember, by the way, when I was a kid, this was eternally checked out of the library, and if they ever had it, it was always dinged to pieces because it was one of the few places you could get a graphic novel as a kid. It just didn't exist in numbers.
It was all Stan Lee written, had art by Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko, John Romita Sr., Gil Kane, and John Buscema.
Yep.
Some great stuff.
Legendary stuff.
I have a version of this that got put out in the 80s. I somehow got a copy of it.
That's cool. I actually have never had it.
So these 7 villains are Doom, Abomination, Loki, Red Skull, Dormammu, Mephisto, and Green Goblin.
Yeah, pretty iconic run.
And what they're doing here, it is they're putting it out as one-shots, but it actually is a continuing story.
And it's not reprints like the old stuff.
No,
it's a new story.
It's new stories.
This is an entirely new story.
Each issue is going to focus on those villains who were in the original.
Yep.
So without giving too much away, it appears there's going to be basically a race for these 5 artifacts between Doom and Mephisto.
It's a G.I. Joe race.
And how the other... it is kind of, because they're going to put those daggers together and build...
100%.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
The globe-hopping race to get an item before a bad guy team gets it...
A classic.
Is a classic format, I always like it.
But the bad guys are the bad... There's no good guy team. It's all bad guys.
But it is... there is good team because they are compelling bad guys in this.
So,
and Doom has a rival in this, too.
Yeah, there's a new character introduced who I really liked. Yep. I like this art quite a bit by Stefano Raphael, who's worked with Ed Brubaker in the past.
It reminds me of some of the artists during that Winter Soldier run era.
It reminds me of Butch Guys.
It's a really good setup, but we're going to see...
And by the way, Doom is way perfectly in character.
Yes. And I like their take on Mephisto too.
There's a bit where he's questioning one of his spies, who's just this kind of older guy.
That was so cool.
And Doom is kind of the guy is starting to tell him stuff, and Doom occasionally interrupts, and he's like, you are wasting Doom's time with this prattle. And then the guy keeps going, clearly kind of aware of Doom's narcissism, I think, and he eventually gets to the thing that he knows kind of Doom wants. And then there's this beat panel of Doom looking intensely at him, and the guy looks afraid, and then he's like, Doom is not unpleased.
Yeah,
and the guy's like, "Oh, thank God." I was like, it's been a while since I've seen Doom characterized so well.
Mark Guggenheim writes and does a really good job. The reveal of the six daggers and who had them is some nice little cuts of the various parts of the Marvel Universe. He's using all the toys well.
The other character who shows up in a scene in Berlin, which I won't say who this character is, who's one of the other bad guys.
Done well.
On this, it was a cool scene with them, and kind of a way of thinking about this character that I hadn't thought about in a while.
There's a lot to like about this one. It's definitely one that ranked pretty highly on my reads this week.
Agreed.
Yep.
Emma Frost, White Queen. This is one of those flashback miniseries. This is written by Amy Chu and art by Andrea DeVito. It is a story of Emma Frost at sort of her for me, this is her perfect era.
The early days of the Hellfire Club.
She is a villain through and through. The Hellfire Club is sort of the Inner Circle is just sort of getting started, and this has her run afoul of the X-Men, sort of the classic X-Men team of Storm, Colossus, Wolverine, and Nightcrawler. Sort of my favorite X-Men team.
Yep.
It's done really well, and it's going to lead her into sort of how she forms her version of the Inner Circle.
Interesting.
Well, there's like the inner politics of the Hellfire Club.
Do we know if this is going to jump ahead? Like, there was a time where she had her Hellions team.
No, this is just going to be during this period.
Okay, that's good. Should they like it? I feel like you could probably do a flashback era to that one, notably to the Generation X era when she actually was co-headmaster of Xavier's Institute with Banshee.
Yep.
So
this is prior to all of this.
Like Randy, this is my iconic White Queen. I like what they've done with her as an anti-hero hero kind of person.
Yeah.
But she was my favorite when she was part of the really quite scary Hellfire Club. They were all very mean.
They also do some really good writing with telepath stuff. She's a telepath, and their version of her using her telepathy is interesting.
And she has a new kind of underling that she's taken under her wing, not unlike she would do with her students.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it feels like it's an all-encompassing Emma Frost.
It's really good.
I'm surprised. Yeah. I honestly didn't have many expectations.
It was good. It was very good.
People like Jeff the Landshark.
I loved this issue.
Is this a one-shot?
No, it's a series. It's the first continuing series that I know of.
I think the first one has not been digital first. It's written by Kelly Thompson.
Yep.
Who has done a lot of Hawkeye, West Coast Avengers. Gwenpool? Is Gwenpool hers?
She's done Gwenpool, yes.
I don't know if she created her or
Here's
not.
my question. So the last It's Jeff we got a few weeks back or a month back or whatever
was a lot of digital first.
But it was like a sort of an anthology of short strips.
This is an ongoing story.
And most of them are...
Oh, it's an ongoing story?
Yeah, they're mostly like wordless. This one actually is a lot of dialogue.
Yeah. Jeff still doesn't talk.
No.
He just goes, "Murr."
He grumps and makes sounds.
He is just an adorable little spherical man.
It basically opens with him breaking into the Sanctum Sanctorum because he can go anywhere. That's his thing.
Right, that's what we learned from Marvel Snap.
And we learned from Marvel Snap.
What is the actual power in Marvel Snap?
He literally can go anywhere. He has no rules.
Does he move, or you can place him anywhere?
You move him anywhere.
Every time. He can go wherever he wants. I don't think so. I think it's everywhere.
Anyway, he can't be blocked by like Professor X.
You know why? Because he's delightful, and who would turn down this little spherical shark?
But he does get in a fight with the snakes who live in Doctor Strange's Sanctum Sanctorum.
Oh, nice!
Which I thought was really fun. And then he runs afoul of course, stuff in the Sanctum Sanctorum that leads elsewhere.
And then there's Deadpool.
And then there's Deadpool.
I had no particular connection to Jeff. I know he's like in Marvel Rivals too, and like people have been kind of getting on board the Jeff train from that.
Yep.
But that last special, the digital shorts, I thought was just hilarious and very adorable, and I'm now a convert to.
I think if you liked that, this is really fun.
I'll definitely check it out.
The art in particular is really good.
Godzilla vs. Avengers is, I think, the last of the one-shots of Godzilla vs. Marvel. This is set in the New Avengers era, which is my least favorite Avengers era. It's a little goofy, to be honest, but if you're looking for sort of a goofy fun, Jet Jaguar and Fin Fang Foom also star. It's got Maria Hill directing the Avengers, made up of Iron Man, Cap, Spider-Man, Wolverine, Spider-Woman, and Luke Cage.
Yep.
And it's by David Walker and Georges Janty.
Am I correct that era of Avengers is now like about 20-ish years old?
That is correct, yes.
Good Lord.
Don't make me sad.
Yep.
Good Lord.
Dr. Aphra gets a new ongoing series set in the post-Return of the Jedi era. She has been... it starts off with her basically... She's in what is essentially parole because of all her crimes.
Yep.
And... she immediately launches a heist with her parole officer.
Oh, that's pretty good, actually.
And then Luke Skywalker interjects.
I was going to say, I wrote up the solicit, or I made a sign for it, and based on the solicit, it sounded like she was going to somehow work for Luke.
Yes, Luke sort of intercedes on her behalf, and she's going to wind up working for like the rebel procurements.
Having originally started out as being, she got kind of drafted into working for, Vader.
Yeah.
So...
It's fun. She's a chaos agent, which is what she's called here.
Yep.
She definitely is like, all she wants to do is steal stuff and sell it. So it's
a true Tomb Raider.
Yeah, a true Tomb Raider.
Just out of curiosity, I don't know if this indicates it. Does she have? Do people know that Luke is Vader's son? I don't think they know that.
I don't know either. I think
does she know that she's
treated
working
as like.
for
she calls him Farm Boy, so she must know him from Tatooine or something.
Right. Well, he probably made a name for himself basically after he destroyed the Death Star.
Well, everybody else treats him like this war hero, and she treats him like an old buddy that she knew in high school.
Oh, interesting.
So I have a feeling that there's a connection that's been made.
Maybe they had done previous some
this
crossover.
is not the first time they've met.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense.
So yeah, it's an interesting relationship, and Dr. Aphra's a fun character.
Yep.
Star Trek Omega. This is a one-shot that wraps up all the Star Trek of the last, I don't know, 5-10 years that IW's been doing.
They've done kind of lots of standalone miniseries and one-shots, but in the stuff that's the bigger stories and the big continuity stories, this brings it all to a
Well, it has essentially been 3 books.
Yeah.
It's been Star Trek Defiant, and Star Trek Lower Decks.
Yep.
And then they've done some crossovers of those. They did the Lore War. They did the Klingon Red Path or whatever it was called. And this is basically a check-in on all these characters, put the toys back in the box, leave them where we know they're going to be in Picard, and then give some of the characters they introduce their own happy endings. It is, if you're a sucker for ending stories, and I absolutely am, they check in on everybody and give them all their next thing. And there's a great thing with Sisko and his Jake Sisko and his dad, Data, even some of the Lower Decks characters.
Okay.
It's a really good finale to an era of Star Trek, which I think is probably the best the comics have ever been.
That seems to be something of a consensus, and also, that's when they won some awards and stuff too.
Well, I like they put a capper on it, so basically now, I could buy all of this and have the entire story.
It's true.
That's cool.
By the way, the kind of what happened to everybody is one of the things I liked about Andor's ending.
Yeah.
Most of the last episode was kind of a reveal of kind of where people where they ended up.
Good endings do that kind of thing. I mean, Star Trek, All Tomorrow's, whatever, the Next Generation finale, they did that too.
Yep.
So it's kind of a tradition, and I'm all for it. Krypto, the Last Dog of Krypton this week. Ryan North and Mike Norton.
This is a nice creative team. Ryan North comes from Fantastic Four and the Squirrel Girl. There's a cover by Jay Lee that's a nice cover, and there's some good variants too. And then the interiors is really badass art from Mike Norton.
You know, it was a clever.
Gravity and Battle Pug.
And did he do Revival? Maybe part of Revival.
He did. If anybody can draw excellent puppy dog good boys,
well, he had all those prints. We've got one up on the wall. All the pugs, superheroes as pugs, and that kind of thing.
Yep.
So he does. One thing I thought was very clever in this. I usually don't like mixed case lettering.
Yeah.
But they use the mixed case lettering whenever they're speaking to each other. And then whenever he's talking to Krypto and Krypto can understand it, it's capitalized.
Yeah, it's a smart little bit.
That's really clever.
It reminded me a little bit of not quite the Fraction Hawkeye issue where
it's Pizza Dog.
Yeah, it's not quite that level.
Yep.
But I thought this was a really smart book.
If you have trouble with dogs in danger, there is some harrowing stuff in here.
Yeah, there's a decision,
but he's okay.
There was a decision I questioned,
yes.
And I'm judging Lara and
look, their plan's falling apart, and they want to get their kid off.
I understand that,
but I also like the last page reveal of who finds him on Earth.
It was cool.
Was great. I really liked this. I thought it was a lot of fun.
I did
too. There's a book from Oni called Benjamin that has this weird sort of arty cover.
Yeah.
And it's interior art is by Leo Max, who does really good stuff. It's basically about a sci-fi writer who wakes up after he was presumed dead in a hotel room.
We've all been there.
And he doesn't know what happened. He's kind of an arrogant sci-fi writer, but they're trying to figure out what is going on with him, and it seems like maybe there's something weird happened to him.
Okay.
It's a fun first issue.
That's I'm kind of a sucker for that sort of amnesia type premise.
Yeah.
What do you call it? Dark City is one of those
that's
movies.
Right.
He wakes up amnesiac, naked in a pool of blood with a dead prostitute in the room with ritualistic type cuts on her. And he's like, oh, I should probably go.
There are no prostitutes in this.
Boo. Well, I hope the next one has something
sure
of a prostitutional nature.
I'll make a note. And then Boom Box, which is Boom's All Ages imprint.
I hope it does not have a prostitute.
Has The Last Witch, Blood and Betrayal, which I believe is a sequel to a previous Last Witch series.
Oh, yeah, I think it is.
It is got really nice artwork, really, really pretty. and it's like a kid's magic book, essentially.
Like Magic School or kids?
No,
neighborhood kids.
They seem to. No, it's aimed at kids.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
I think there are younger characters, but it's got a little bit of that Avatar look to it.
Yeah.
They seem to be like wizards who live in the forest and that kind of thing.
Parents looking for their kids, or somebody looking for something cool for their niece or nephew.
It looks like a fantasy world.
Yeah.
So like it looks like a kind of fairies and that kind of thing. So,
sounds cool.
Lots of number 2 issues this week.
Yes.
The stuff that we all liked the first issue of. So I'm going to run through them. Gwenpool number 2.
Yep.
Battle Beast number 2, which I think we all kind of enjoy. This is kind of dumb, violent sci-fi, basically.
I love
it's not too dumb, but it's also not real. It's not exactly overly ambitious.
I genuinely love the animosity that the computer has against
the computer's
Battle Beast.
So the computer keeps telling him like, "Oh, yeah, to be honest, I was trying to kill you."
Yeah,
and then he knows.
Right, they'll like go someplace, and the computer will be like, "I let the local bounty hunters know that you're here," and stuff
fault.
like that. But there's also this kind of wormy little pathetic. It's actually like a severed torso and upper and head and arm of an alien who's clearly can just survive that kind of thing. Who's this spindly little alien prince who's like, "Please don't eat me," and he's like, "I'm gonna eat you," and then he's like, I heard you talking to the computer, and I understand that you're looking for a real challenge. He's like, "Well, if you can get me back to my home world, maybe we can make a deal." And so this becomes like he's gathering this sort of unusual little entourage of weird allies that mostly want to kill him. But they also they do interact. Like they go to a space station in this one.
That space station. Ryan Otley's such a good artist.
Yes,
that space station shot, that crowd shot, is fantastic.
It's really good.
Yes, I kind of like this more than I expected.
Me too. I'm warming up to it.
If you want some silliness and bloodshed,
since the character is one note. It didn't seem. I was like, I don't know that I really want to see this because he's kind of like the Punisher. He just defeats things in combat.
But like the Punisher, the way you make him interesting is surround him with more interesting characters.
Surround him with more interesting characters and have them forced to work with this force of nature.
It's kind of smart because actually the people who want to read just like, I want to read the biggest badass in the universe.
He does do that.
There's plenty of that. There's lots of cool fighting. But if you're someone who likes a story, not that I'm besmirching those people, but the story is here too. So it's good for all kinds of readers, whether you be adult like myself or a sophisticate.
Sure.
Exquisite Corpses number 2 from Image. This is James Tinian's and Michael Walsh. They're doing their story of
There's Serial Killer Hunger Games.
Serial Killer Hunger Games, about how we pitch it. It's great and bloody and scary, and they're having a great time with it. I am definitely curious to see where this goes. Like, as with all Tinian books, I know when I read this in collection, I'm going to love it.
Yeah.
But in just reading in single issues, I'm enjoying it quite a bit.
If you're a fan of The Purge, the
Battle Royale,
this is right up your alley.
But it is also different.
Hunger Games.
It is also pretty different from them because it involves these ultra wealthy families who essentially employ these serial killers. I mean, we talked about it when we talked about.
But we are getting kind of stuff from like the people who live in this town's point of view, which definitely echoes what they do in The Purge.
You're like a little person caught up in the midst of big terrible things.
Your town, suddenly your cell phone goes down, and then all of a sudden there's a bunch of serial killers running around your town.
Yep.
Or if you're an EMT and you can't get a hold of people, and there's lots of bodies everywhere. It's a weird time.
Dan Slott's Superman Unlimited number 2 with Raphael Albuquerque on art. This is a great Superman book.
A really strong second issue.
Slott is doing the kind of world building he did with Spidey on his like Spider-Man corporation. The opening where they're making a like worldwide Daily Bugle net. Daily Planet. Yeah. Really cool, including they have one in Markovia and Simeon Island Gorilla City.
Yep.
Really neat. And they go to the country that has become enriched by having kryptonite, which I think there's definitely going to be a sinister thing going on there.
100%.
But it also feels like he's kind of like throwing enough twists and things that it won't be quite what you think it is.
I like that his Krypto Knights are using old Checkmate gear. That was always a cool look.
They never looked as cool as they did when they first appeared.
Yep.
That needs to go back to being the standard for Checkmate.
And then they introduced Jack Ryder, a.k.a. the Creeper.
Yep.
Jack Ryder is doing sort of a kind of an Alex Jonesy kind of show.
Yeah, he's doing trashy, like selling the kind of, I don't know, supplements and stuff like that, doing ads. But he gets because the Daily Planet actually has some integrity, and I guess they are the parent network or something like that.
Yes,
for the thing.
So they show
Clark
up and
Kent comes in and fact checks him and wrecks him.
That's a great. This is why you can all read comics for things that would never happen in the real world.
Right, like but what if?
Yeah, but what if there were fact checking on media?
There's a supervillain guest star that I haven't seen in a long time.
Character.
Yeah, she's a fun character.
Is that a Gail Simone character?
She is.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't know who that character was, but they seemed familiar.
She was from Secret Six.
Yep. And there's an interesting. So Superman has his weird kind of new power twist.
Because Kryptonite's everywhere, and he has a new power.
Right, and it has kind of some unusual side effects.
Yeah.
It does things like that at times give him a new kind of power advantage, but at other times can all but strip him of his powers. And
his power comes with a limitation, and I think it's really fun.
There were some bad guys like, I should take this shot at him, I'm never going to get this shot again. And, he probably could have done it.
Superman bluffs him.
And it's so good.
I bristle at this idea.
Yeah.
But it's very much like Superior Spider-Man, where it's like, as an idea, if someone just told me this is happening, I'd be like, that sounds like the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Right.
But the way that Slott does it, and knowing that it's temporary, I'm like, this is a fun exploration of a character.
When you back it up with a good execution,
it's like a Silver Age idea, but I'm not a big fan of DC's Silver Age. They just never really struck me. But if you take some of those concepts and you build them up with, kind of just stronger writing. Then I can have a good time with it.
And the writing in here is great.
There's and I feel like you're getting a lot for your money.
Yeah, there's a lot that happens in this issue.
It's not overly dense, but there's action in here. There's fun character moments. You know what it reminds me of, just kind of vibe wise, is kind of like the best moments I think of the '90s Superman, when the Shield era and stuff like that, where I feel like readers, you would go to hang out in the world of Metropolis and his circles and stuff like that, and you would feel like, this is kind of fun, I'm just immersed in it.
Yeah.
And the tease for the next issue.
It's really good.
Yeah, I'm excited.
A villain who I don't always like, but I'm curious to see how Slott's going to use him. Also,
I think I'm excited to see this villain.
I do want to say, Superboy, Connor, is in the scene where they talk about the powers. He has some great lines in this, where someone's like, he's like, it's your new superpower. He's like you didn't have enough already. And then there's a bit where they talk about how long his new form recharges, and he's like, what happens then? And Superboy's like, you need to collect another 100 gold rings or punch a mystery box and get a gold star. Great.
Yeah,
so good.
Little smart ass.
That's what he was, though.
Yes, yeah. Second issue of Los Monstruos, which is James Robinson's Dark Horse book with Jesus Marino on art. This is an alternate Los Angeles, basically.
It's noir classic monsters.
But they're all classic monsters. So the lead is a detective, former cop. In this one, he goes to a mummy's pyramid that is also a casino.
You said detective, former cop. Is he what monster is he?
He's a werewolf.
He's a werewolf.
I meant werewolf,
not
detective.
Okay.
He's a werewolf detective, former cop. His partner is a Frankenstein.
Yep.
His ex-partner. His would-be lover is a vampire waitress at a diner.
We've all been there.
It's in with all these trappings. It is a classic noir story. He's looking for someone. There's something bigger going on.
And James Robinson, just from the kind of stories I remember from Starman and some of his other projects, he can write a mystery and do things like that.
It's really fun. I really like it.
Yeah,
it's great world building, interesting characters. This is one of the better things Robinson's written in a long while.
Happy to see him back.
Second issue of Money Shot Big Bang, which is Patton Oswalt joining Tim Seeley for the adventures of sexual explorers of space.
Yep.
This issue, they go to a strip club.
Kinkster scientists.
They are trying to prevent the immersion of a not immersion. Whenever someone comes, where does someone come from? Emergence. Thank you.
Yeah.
Of a anti-sex tyrant from the future.
Oh, nice.
So they found his young version, and they're trying to teach him that sex is okay.
Oh man, somebody who's going to basically, what's the Margaret Atwood thing?
Yeah.
Like somebody who's going to launch. What was that series?
Handmaid's Tale.
Handmaid's Tale. He's going to launch that, and they're going to we need to go to this teenager when he was a teen and get him laid.
Thankfully, he's a 20-something. He's not quite that shit. Not quite that creepy.
I grew up in the era of Porky's and things like that.
Yes, for sure. Yeah.
Oh, I missed the second issue.
Vanishing Point number 2. This is a sci-fi anthology.
The cover looks very Jetsons.
All written by Mark Russell. This is his riff on the Jetsons. There's a twist. You would probably not be surprised to learn there's a twist. These are good stories.
I liked the first one quite a bit.
Yeah, second one's good too. G.I. Joe number 8. This is a spotlight on the Baroness. She winds up teamed up with CoverGirl.
Yeah, she basically is going sort of stir crazy and like being,
She's like, give me a furlough.
Right, because she was like a kind of a bad mercenary person who was sort of drafted into the G.I. Joe team.
Well, I mean, she still has like bounties and warrants out for her. Right?
And she says that like when they're doing training, she is kind of a little off her game, and she's like, it's because I'm stuck in here with you assholes.
Yep.
And she's like, give me some time off and I'll be a better team member for it. And they're like, okay, but, one of our other officers has to go with you. And so you get kind of a Girls Night Out team up, G.I. Joe style. Yep. It's a fun issue.
And the cliffhanger introducing a character I was delighted to see.
Yep.
I also really like that there's a corner box on this one on the cover.
Yeah.
And they include a Transformer.
That's right.
Because he's stealthily on the team.
That was a good reveal too.
Oh, man, yeah, that villain that shows up.
It's insane.
It's insane that they chose to do that, and I feel like this is the book you can do it in.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a really, really good
I was souring a little bit on G.I. Joe. I was like, oh, maybe I'm not as into this. And the last couple have brought me back for sure.
I think, Randy, for you and I, and Nick, but maybe to a lesser degree, because you kind of came in more on the cartoon, and this more reflects the cartoon.
For sure.
But, like, the Larry Hama stuff is so untouchable, right? You know? And I was like, but when this is kind of accepts, it's that it's its own thing, and it has always, never tried to be Hama,
right?
But like when we accept it, I think we have a better time. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, now that there is like kind of a Transformer that's kind of stealthily in the team, that they're introducing some of these kind of like this crazier threat that shows up in this one that normally could be like one of those things where I'd be like, that's dopey. But in this, it's fun.
Yeah.
It makes it a really fun read.
Agreed. I really enjoyed this. It's a Jed MacKay Tuesday.
Always like a good Jed MacKay Tuesday.
His 3 big books are out this week: Avengers, X-Men, and Moon Knight, and they're all excellent. Avengers is he's thrown down with the Mad Thinker's New Masters of Evil.
Yep.
Which I was glad to see he did. I griped about the first issue that maybe he didn't remember what Madcap's powers were, but he clearly does.
I was hoping that was the case. I felt like it would be weird if he was kind of...
And the way he uses it is kind of dark and funny. X-Men is the X-Men facing off with these other X-Men.
Yep. You know what's one of the cool things that happens, and I think I can say this because it's early on, is right as they're about to face off against this other X-Men team, that team is kind of bickering.
Yep.
And so like the other people with Cyclops' team are like, "What's the play, Cyclops?"
And
he's like, "Hold back." He's like, "I've been on a team with Wolverine for years. I'm like, I know how this goes." He's like, "Let him fracture."
It's great when he basically he's like, "It's just nice it's not happening to me for once."
Yeah. It's another good Cyclops woman. I love it.
Yep. And there's also some good stuff in there with Beast, Magneto, several other good characters.
I'm a little worried about the Beast.
They just rescued Beast.
I don't play with that.
Yeah.
I think MacKay is.
I trust him.
I think he wants to solidify his return, probably.
Also, they did some cool stuff with the giant, like
the giant. Space whale possessed by the ghost of
I thought that was
died in the womb mutant.
It was a resolution that I wasn't quite expecting. So
that was a consistently interesting sequence. This is the one where that kaiju-sized monster was fighting like a mega sentinel that was controlled by Magneto inside. It was pretty cool stuff.
It was.
Moon Knight continues his battle against an Asgardian drug dealer named Fairchild. This is they're trying to figure out a cure.
These Asgardians aren't sending their best.
They're trying to figure out a cure for the Asgardian magic drug that he's put out in the streets, which the addicts actually can't. Like, they can't quit or they will die.
Yeah.
And he goes to Hank Pym to help him science up a solution.
Oh, nice.
It's really
what
good.
I like is when kind of characters are somewhat extreme, like Moon Knight. It's fun to see them bounce off other characters.
Well, it also ties into, like, the old West Coast Avengers stuff where Moon Knight served alongside Hank Pym and Tigra, who are both in this book. And Jed MacKay gets Moon Knight in the same way I get Moon Knight, which is nice. Like, he's writing the character I want to read.
It's a bizarre team, though.
It's very strange.
I haven't been reading
It's a strange book.
But, like, I don't... Like, 8-Ball is a
very
call.
D-list villain 8-Ball. A former Hydra soldier who is now a vampire.
Yep. And then...
another vampire who is his who was his assistant, essentially.
It's a slow burn team of misfits.
It is a slow burn team of misfits. Anyway, really good. I really enjoyed this. It's another exploration of Moon Knight and his psyche, and also him just kind of being a badass. One World Under Doom gives us Doom's Division number 4, the Pan-Asian group that is having interdivision, basically. They've been betrayed by White Fox, these South Korean spies. She seems to be working for Doom, where the rest of them are like starting to realize they don't maybe want to work for Doom. There's some good sort of insurgency stuff in there.
Nice.
Amazing Spider-Man number 6, which has Spidey and Black Cat, and the return of Romita Jr. on art.
The scene that cracked me up in this when I was just flipping through it was they're on Spidey and Black Cat are on a stakeout, and they're like, okay, we're all set up, the bad guys won't be here for a couple hours, and he kind of like starts talking strategy stuff, and she's like, hey, do you want to make out?
Right. I like the just back and forth between those two characters.
Yeah.
And it kind of runs that throughout, like him and Norman Osborn and his new friend. There's just a lot of good dialogue.
Yeah.
Again,
it's good.
I'm really digging the Spider-Man book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm enjoying it more than I've enjoyed Spider-Man in a while. Fantastic Four fanfare. This is the clearly time for the Fantastic Four movie.
They're a miniseries, right?
Miniseries, anthology.
Okay.
So
that's right. Each issue was kind of meant to focus on one character.
Yeah, this issue has a Jonathan Hickman, Dustin Weaver, which is an era. A John Tyler Christopher, who's the guy who does those negative space variants.
Oh, yeah.
He writes and draws a story. And a Mark Buckingham, who writes and draws a story in here. That it goes back to the days of Darklawn of Ladveria.
Wild.
Quite the cut.
I mean, having Hickman in your anthology is pretty notable.
Yeah. Well, they're doing like a big Fantastic Four writer at the lead of each one. Like the previous one was Mark Waid.
Yep.
And I don't know who else they'll get in here, but probably not John Byrne.
Probably not.
It's too bad, actually. But he does not work with Marvel anymore, or anyone else.
He's a bit of a cranky
He works
pants.
with himself.
Yep.
Aliens vs. Avengers number 4. This wraps up Hickman's weird, futuristic, very dark Aliens vs. Avengers story.
Nick, did you read it?
I skimmed this one. Okay. I think at some point it took a swerve that I couldn't enjoy, but...
Yeah, I kind of derailed from it a bit, too, but there was some interesting looking things when I was looking at this last issue, and of course the art from... Who's the artist?
It's Asad Ribic.
Asad Ribic, he's a really good artist.
I think I will enjoy it more as a graphic novel.
Yeah, I think it'll be one to revisit as a collection.
But like I said, Ribic's artwork is gorgeous, but sometimes Hickman can be a little too Hickman.
He's a little Hickman.
Uh-huh. But if you like Hickman,
it's true.
Go.
Then you're going to like that.
Absolute Flash number 4 it continues the Wally on the Run, introduces a couple new characters.
I like this issue. It takes
I did too. This kind of won me over a little bit.
From Flash lore, kind of some supporting characters and use them in an interesting way.
New artist comes
I felt like I liked the...
Oh, it's a new artist? That makes sense.
It is. I don't know who this artist is.
I like this artist.
I like this artist
really
better, actually.
Talented.
I do too.
I really like this art. It's a little less dark and gritty than it's been, I think.
Right. It's a bit more fun. There's a kind of a neat classic cliffhanger type reveal of some upcoming things, that all of which I'm interested in. And I was pleased to see, although you don't see a lot of him, that Gorilla Grodd, the weird who in the Absolute editions is like a weird experiment who's escaped with him, is not going to be just like discarded. He is going to be a semi-recurring partner, it looks like.
I mean, he looks... I mean, he's Grodd, but he looks like the character from Young Justice. From Project Cadmus.
Oh, yeah. The little things,
Yeah, I
don't know who that is.
They were little monkey-looking
It's things. Not based on... That's not a version of, like, Gleek from the old...
No, it's not. It's for Young Justice, you're right. They were little creations of Cadmus.
Right.
And they didn't have a particular name, I don't think. They were just...
There was one.
Was there a name? Okay.
Yeah, but...
Batman and Robin Year 1 continues to have gorgeous art by Chris Samney. And some interesting storytelling of a villain who's trying to figure out who Batman is. And there's a reveal in here that Gordon also had dossiers, was trying to figure out who Batman was until he realized he could trust him. And now they have to protect all the people who are on that list, one of whom is Bruce Wayne. So he has to basically pretend that he's not Batman while he and Robin are being tested to see if they're Batman and Robin.
That's fun.
It's kind of fun.
That was a classic Silver Age idea, too.
Detective Comics, this is Tom Taylor's second arc with really beautiful artwork by Lee Garbett. And essentially, there's this secret society that has kidnapped the Penguin. Batman rescues him And then Penguin's like, you can't just leave me here. So he accidentally winds up as Penguin as a sidekick for the rest of the episode while he's going to rescue Private Investigator Bullock from the job he sent him on.
I was asking you off mic if this was a little bit like that Batman the Animated Series episode Harlequinade, where Batman has to work with Harley for an episode. And I'm like, I usually like, that's another tried and true formula. Just like global race to get the object.
There's some fun stuff in here. There's he basically, when he has to do Penguin in with him, he's like, no killing. He has to get him to agree to that. And he says, I'll leave you up on this wall. And then Penguin actually gets to be kind of a badass in this, too.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, it's fun. And his version of his Harvey Bullock is also great. So definitely recommend this run. I was skeptical because I really liked his Nightwing run, and I kind of didn't want Tom Taylor running more Batman. I'm like, there's plenty of Batman. But I think I'm going to wind up on board. I'm going to wind up picking up these collections just like I did all the Nightwings.
Interesting.
New Gods number 7. This is the Justice League interacting with the New Gods as they've crashed to Earth. Dave, I think you and I both had the same reaction to this, which is like, I really like this book. I'm not sure what's happening.
That's true. I'd say I know what's happening at times.
Yeah, sure.
But every once in a while, I'm like, I don't know what's happening. But I'm really liking. He's got kind of like sort of a literary vibe, almost the same way James Robinson did with Starman back in the day. But he's being a pretty cool team player in this, using characters like, was that Miss Martian, Cyborg, and stuff like that, alongside. Like Superman and Wonder Woman and stuff like that, and as well as his New Gods characters, so Orion, Mr. Miracle, Barda.
The way he writes, so the New Gods ship crashes and the DEO shows up, and they're like, they're like, we're going to take him into custody, and the Justice League's they're divided on that. Hal Jordan is all on board, and I love that Green Arrow's like, he's like, all these years, Lantern, you still like the taste of leather.
Yep.
It's like, not enough people call Hal Jordan a bootlicker, and I appreciate it.
But I also like Superman kind of standing up, and like his immediate reaction is nope.
And I also love Jon Stewart, like the way he solves the problem.
Yep. It is cool. And by the way, the art on this is spectacular.
Really great.
Kind of next level art, I think.
Really, I'm not a big New Gods fan, but I'm going to wind up picking up this collection because I really like what they're doing with these characters.
Yeah, I feel like he's kind of gone above and beyond as far as ambition on them.
Agreed. And then I read Batman Superman World's Finest, which was a one-shot. Basically, they go on... Bruce Wayne and Clark Kent and Lois are all there. This is before Lois knows who he is. And Gordon and Perry White go on this, like...
Oh, I meant to read this and I didn't get around to it.
It's a podcast or a video cast of a dude who's definitely supposed to be like a stand-in for Andrew Tate or one of those kind of guys.
Yep.
And basically he's like, they're going to defend journalism against this guy, and then it turns out he might have unleashed a kaiju on Gotham City. It's nice art.
I'm flipping through it. It's nice artwork, too.
Yeah. Is this Dan Mora?
It's Adrian Gutierrez.
Oh, not Dan Mora. Okay. Anyway, that was fun. Bug Wars.
Bug Wars. This is the penultimate issue.
They be bugging.
Every issue, come rain or shine, Randy, they be bugging.
Still a lot of fun. Great art by Mahmoud Asrar.
Yep. For people who don't remember, this is the one that's like basically a John Carter of Mars kind of thing, but with the fantasy insect kingdoms of a backyard.
John Carter of the Micronauts.
Yeah. Or as Nick was saying, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids style. Yeah. But there's definitely
John Carter.
with an R rating.
Honey, I Shrunk the fucking Kids.
yes, that is 100% what it is. As we discussed in the previous issue, one of those bugs that sprays burning acid from its butt is used to kill somebody.
At this point, I will pick up this trade. I like what Jason Aaron's thrown down.
That, along with I think Battle Beast, are the two very good pulp kind of comics going on.
I may have to give this
now.
another shot. I was not as wild about it as you guys are, but you're clearly still enjoying it. So.
Yeah. I think it's just a
I didn't
ton
read
of fun.
this issue. It could suck, but Dave, perhaps Nick speaks with wisdom.
Dave, anything else on your list, or did we cover everything?
No, we got it.
All right. We also have second printings of Absolute Batman 5 through 7.
Cool.
We have a new printing of Exquisite Corpses number 1 because that sold out first day.
So this, just as we're hitting issue 2, you can get issue 1. So just come in and get a both.
Is it just
which is smart, by the way.
They didn't do another bagged version.
They did do a bagged version with a card in the card game. So,
for number 1 as well.
For number 1 as well.
So we'll have those and number 2 as well.
Yep. So if you want the card game that's going to be coming out, which I'm kind of curious about the card game, to be honest.
Yeah, and it's interesting.
Batwoman Elegy Compact Edition. This is the original Batwoman by Rucka and J.H. Williams. Beautiful, strange.
It's a really
kind of surreal noir.
Introduces Batwoman's sister. It was a lot of.
Another DC finest graphic novel, Metamorpho the Element Man.
Oh, yeah.
This has some of the goofiest, fun Silver Age, where he is like a
little bit of a swaggering
guy.
So he was like an adventurer kind of in old school mode.
This is you see him in the Superman movie, you want to know where he comes from.
Yeah, this is where he comes from.
This is what you get.
Yeah. And then Superman Adventures Compendium. This is the all-ages Superman based off the 90s series.
Yep.
This is all really good stuff. I think we all read a bunch of this stuff back in the day.
Yeah,
it's really good.
The 90s one went for what about 3 years?
I think so.
Like that.
And then went into Justice League. So.
Yeah, and like it had a really good run, but if you were digging it and kind of like wanted more of that, some original villains or more stories with the villains that existed.
Yep.
They had a very good run for several years as comics, and like they stack up against the cartoon episodes, I think.
Yeah, agreed. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back and talk about a couple of trailers. All right, just real quick, we want to talk about a couple trailers that dropped. One is for a very intense-looking movie by Ari Aster, who you may know as the guy who did... what's the movies you've done?
Hereditary and Midsommar.
Yeah, and then the other one that was
The Beau is Afraid.
Which
I have not seen.
Right, apparently a weird movie.
Yeah.
And this is another in the weird movie genre, less overt horror, although real world anxiety seems to be.
They're saying it's a Western.
It's about a mayoral race
in a small town
during the COVID pandemic.
Yeah. Do we know where the small town is? Like, is it Texas or
it could be
somewhere
Texas,
Southwest.
Oklahoma, something like that.
Yeah. But yes, they overtly open by giving you kind of glimpses in ways that are kind of meant to be. Some of them are a little cheeky, like almost like a Coen Brothers movie.
Yeah.
But of like reminding you of the era. So of course, people masking
New
up.
Mexico.
Okay, people masking up, fighting over masking up, being stopped at a checkpoint to do the swab in the nose thing. And all of that. And it seems like this mayoral race between characters that are Pedro Pascal and Joaquin Phoenix. They are divided on handling COVID, and chaos ensues. That looks like it gets like really, really wildly out of hand.
Yeah, like violence.
At some point, there's like somebody firing like an assault rifle.
Yeah.
But it's also there's lots of tongue-in-cheek little kind of dry comedy bits in here. So, Nick, you said it kind of looked like Raising Arizona meets No Country for Old Men on the Coen Brothers front.
Plus election.
And they actually don't reveal a lot about it. It's kind of more of a vibes trailer.
Yeah.
But it was interesting.
I mean, Ari Aster is an interesting director. Always brings something different to a story.
Since I haven't seen Beau is Afraid, which is probably the most different movie he made,
and the most divisive. I've seen a lot of people really hate that one.
Where Hereditary and Midsommar, whatever else you feel about them overall, they're pretty straightforward horror movies. Not like big jump scare movies, although there's a few in Hereditary.
Yeah, I was gonna say Hereditary feels more. Like
more traditional
horror.
Midsommar was like folk horror, and kind of, but always kind of with a little bit more of that extra ambition. And this is an A24 release, so it's going to have some of that. But these are movies that tend to touch on somewhat deeper topics, and so it seems like this mayoral race in this small town, it's a microcosm of America and things like that.
That's true.
But I would expect him to also do something different.
Yeah,
there's a way you could do that, and it's very cheesy, and I don't think he's that guy who would.
Yeah, do that. No, I'm not. I haven't seen Midsommar. I haven't seen Hereditary. They both look too fucking creepy to me. I like horror movies.
Yeah,
but those are gonna leave me with like scars, and so I'm like, I'm not watching those. This looks really interesting to me.
I'll be curious to start seeing like the obviously the critics that they show clips or like
the critics are in love with it.
Which is weird. I looked it up and it's already I think premiered at festivals, and it's at 67%.
So it's a love or hate it.
It's a love it or hate it.
Seems to be the Ari Aster speed.
Yeah.
So one of the critics is like, the world is not ready for this, and I'm like, okay.
What happens in this? Yeah.
This also co-stars Emma Stone and Austin Butler.
It's a strong cast.
It's a very strong cast.
I was gonna say, I was looking at the IMDb. There's also, I don't know how big his part is, but Austin Butler is in there as well.
Yeah, from Dune.
Nick said that.
I did.
I just heard Emma Stone. Sorry.
All right. You can tune me out. It's fine.
I was already moving on to the next trailer.
He won't even hear you saying you can tune him out.
It's true.
What'd you say? Naked Gun gets a full trailer, not just the teaser.
Yeah,
we all enjoyed the Liam Neeson's teaser trailer.
Yep.
This one, I thought, for one thing, I think they probably shouldn't have put the stuff that was in the teaser back into this trailer.
Yeah, right.
Because it doesn't hit the same way again, and it's like, are those the only good jokes you have?
Right.
But the vibe of it, they started, and it looks like a Liam Neeson action movie.
Right.
And I think actually the movie kind of looks like that. It's like the tone, instead of Police Squad played like a police show from the 70s.
Yeah, almost like spoofing like Dragnet days.
Yeah.
Like what would have been like happening in the 60s cop shows.
This seems to be spoofing a Liam Neeson cop movie, which is smart. That I was like, why remake this movie? And they gave me a reason for it.
Yeah. It does have a lot of the kind of gags, though, you expect from a Naked Gun movie.
There's a big old fart and shit joke.
There's a big fart and shit joke. At some point, the femme fatale, Pam Anderson.
Yep.
He's like questioning her at the precinct, and he's like, "Take a chair," real dark, and she just drags this clanging metal chair out the door.
It's a great bit.
It's funny and it's very old school. Like that's a straight up Frank Drebin gag.
If they've given away all their jokes,
that'd be a problem.
But I don't know. I liked the trailer.
I liked the trailer. I've seen some mixed reviews. I thought it was a good trailer.
I liked the trailer, but I'm a little...
It was a little more hit and miss with the gags than I would like.
I mean, that was the nature of Zucker Abrams Zucker, who made the Naked Gun movies.
That's true.
Rapid fire. Like, if you didn't like a joke, another one was coming 10 seconds later.
That's true.
Yep.
So I think
usually basically the overall rate is good enough to.
But I'm left wondering if Seth MacFarlane and a couple other people can do, even if they do the rapid fire jokes,
can they hit it?
Hit it at the same level as the original Naked Gun?
I will say, as dumb as Family Guy sometimes is, they're pretty good at their rapid fire.
They're pretty good at it.
Yeah, I mean,
so I have a little faith that this is going to work.
And I know Liam Neeson can do comedy.
The other good thing is, I don't really
like he's so good at deadpan. That he's kind of perfect for somebody like Drebin.
The other thing about this is, like, if it doesn't work, I don't really care.
Right.
Like, I've got three perfectly good Naked Gun movies.
Oh, you've tarnished Naked Gun 33 and a third.
Right.
I like to see more of, is it Paul Walter Hauser?
Yeah, he's great.
And I saw
David, do you know this guy? The guy who's playing, like, his partner?
He seemed familiar.
He was in, he plays Stingray in Cobra Kai.
He also
okay.
Yeah.
He was also in I, Tonya and a bunch of stuff. I also saw CCH Pounder.
Yeah, that's right.
Police captain. Police captain.
Which is great.
I love her in everything, so it doesn't matter. I will probably see this. I don't know if I'll rush to the theater.
You know what? I think we should all go see it if it's getting above 70%.
We'll see.
If it has to get above 70% for me to go to the theater.
I think it's going to land in the 60s.
Got to be over 70.
And all right, that's all we got. We're
going to keep it brisk tonight. So, we also today we did have a big comic section.
People might listen to it at night. You never know.
Yeah,
I don't know. Whatever floats your boat. Whatever your kink is.
Yeah. That's a weird way to end the week.
I was going to say. Okay.
Yo, kink.
All right. We'll be back next week with more. Until that time, Yo, Joe.
Roguecast is a weekly podcast broadcast from Rogues Gallery Comics and Games in Round Rock, Texas. You can find us online on Facebook and at www.roguesgallerytx.com and email us comments or questions at roguesgallerytx@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.